Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving today into, well, just a truly baffling Australian story. It gripped the whole country back in 2016, the Trump family.
Yeah, it's a really strange one. You had this seemingly successful, hardworking family out in Sylvan, Victoria. Mark and Jacoba, they ran a red currant farm and also an earth-moving business. Looked completely normal from the outside.
Completely. But then, Monday, August 29th,
Yeah.
just like that, everything changed.
Normalcy just shattered.
Mark and Jacoba and their three adult kids, Rihanna, Mitchell, and Ella, they just upped and left their home.
Yeah.
Almost no warning at all.
And they left behind the crucial stuff, didn't they? Passports, credit cards.
And their mobile phones. All of them, which is key.
It wasn't some spontaneous holiday. It was clearly a panicked, off-the-grid escape driven by some really intense paranoia. Our sources lay out this week-long kind of chaotic journey over 1,000 miles.
Yeah, ended up involving a huge police search and two of the family members needing serious psychiatric help.
So our mission today is really to follow that journey, piece together what happened, not just where they went, but why. What could make a regular family suddenly believe someone was out to kill them, steal their money?
And force them to flee with just cash. It's wild.
The initial pressure, it seems, was really building with the parents, Mark and Jacoba. Sources mention immense stress that kind of spiraled into these paranoid delusions.
And the kids were caught right in the middle. Especially Mitchell, the son. He was 25.
Yeah, his position was unique, wasn't it? It seems like he didn't actually buy into the delusion himself.
Right, he went along, but more out of this feeling of, like, he had to supervise them. Keep them safe.
Exactly. But how long before he realized the danger wasn't, outside the car, but maybe inside it with them?
Didn't take long, apparently. They were barely 30 kilometers from home, near Warburton.
And the paranoia just peaked. The parents became convinced Mitchell's phone was tracking them.
And they made him do what?
Made him throw it out the car window. Just toss it.
Wow. That's a statement. Getting rid of the main link to, well, reality almost.
It really marks the point of no return, doesn't it? The real start of this journey into that shared delusion.
So after ditching the phone, they just drove.
Yeah.
Nonstop. For hours and hours. Covered a massive distance right up into New South Wales.
Ended up way north in Bathurst, 800 kilometers.
Yeah.
By the time they got there, it was early Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., and Mitchell, well, he had had enough.
Can't blame him. The stress, the delusion's getting worse.
He saw his chance and he took it, left the family. He was the first one to kind of break free from that shared reality.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because the others, Mark, Jacoba, Rihanna, and Ella, they didn't exactly calm down.
No, quite the opposite. They seemed to double down on the chaos. From Bathurst, they drove east towards the Jenolan Caves.
Another big tourist spot. It's
Yeah.
like the physical distance they were covering mirrored the mental distance they were traveling from reality.
Well put. And it was there, at Jenolan Caves, that the two sisters, Rihanna and Ella, decided they also needed to get away from their parents.
And how they did it is just unbelievable.
They stole a car.
Stole a car to get away from their own parents. These are adults from a, respectable family.
Shows the level of desperation, doesn't it? They stole this car and drove south, towards Goulburn.
And when they got to Goulburn, they actually tried to do the logical thing amidst all this craziness.
Right. They reported their parents missing to the police.
Which must have sounded completely bizarre to the officers.
Oh, absolutely. And this is part of why it became such a media frenzy. The public couldn't get their heads around it. Like you said, this wasn't the remote outback. They were always near big towns, highways. It just made no sense why they were missing in this way.
So after reporting them missing, the sisters split up in Goulburn. Ella just wanted to go home.
And she actually made it back. She was the first one officially found, arriving back at the farm in Sylvan late Tuesday night.
Only to find the police already there.
Right.
Because the alarm had been raised about them vanishing.
Exactly. And Mitchell, who left the day before in Bathurst, he made his way back too, taking trains.
Ugh.
Arrived home Wednesday morning.
So Mitchell and Ella seemed relatively okay, physically at least, but there were consequences.
There were. Ella was charged with the car theft. Understandable, I guess, given the circumstances, but still a charge.
And Rihanna.
Rihanna was spared the charges, but that was because of her mental state when she was found, which was deeply concerning.
Yeah, tell us about that. After she separated from Ella in Goulburn, what happened?
It's quite harrowing, actually. She somehow ended up climbing into the back of someone's a utility vehicle. The driver didn't notice her at first.
Oh my God.
He drove for nearly an hour out of Goulburn before finding her back there. And his description, he said she was in a catatonic state.
Catatonic.
Yeah.
Just completely unresponsive.
Couldn't say her name, didn't know where she was, just completely shut down. It was clear this was a severe psychological break. She was immediately taken to Goulburn Hospital for psychiatric care.
So that's Rihanna. Now we're still looking for Mark and Jacoba, the parents. Last seen driving south from Jenolan Caves.
They made it back into Victoria, stayed together until Wednesday, but then they separated somewhere near Wangaratta.
Okay,
Yeah.
so back in their home state, but separated.
And again, the movements make no sense. Jacoba, instead of maybe heading towards home in Sylvan, she inexplicably went north again.
North, back towards New South Wales.
Yes, hundreds of kilometers north. She was found the next day, Thursday, wandering around Yass, looking very agitated and distressed.
So she also needed immediate help.
Definitely. Hospitalized in Yass, then transferred to Goulburn to be with Rihanna to continue getting mental health treatment.
Which leaves Mark, the dad. He was the last one.
He stayed in the Wangaratta area after separating from Jacoba. He was actually seen abandoning Ella's Peugeot, the car they'd been driving initially.
Why was he abandoning him?
Well, apparently after a pretty scary incident where he was aggressively tailgating a young couple, they reported his behavior sounded really erratic.
So he was clearly not well either.
Not at all. He was finally found on Saturday evening, that's almost 6 days after they first fled, near the Wangaratta airport.
And then came that image.
Ah, yes. After being assessed by medical staff and released, his brother, who's a police officer, came to pick him up. And Mark, well, he gave the waiting photographers the middle finger.
Not exactly the picture of remorse.
No, although he did issue a public apology later. But that image, that defiance, it really stuck. Speaks volumes about the distress, maybe the defensiveness he was feeling.
So everyone's accounted for. Now the police have to figure out what on earth happened.
Right, and their investigation, given all the drama and public interest, was almost anticlimactic in its finding.
Because there was no there.
If we connect this to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yes, basically. They found zero evidence of any actual threat. Nobody was trying to kill them or steal their money.
No debts, no weird cult connections,
Right.
drugs.
Nothing. No debts they could find, no sign of drug use, no fringe religious groups involved, just nothing external to explain it.
So the threat was entirely internal.
Precisely. One senior officer involved called it the most bizarre case I've seen in 30 years. Sergeant Mark Knight, who actually knew the family locally, just put it down to a massive meltdown.
A meltdown triggered by what? That's the million-dollar question.
And the children's testimony is really telling here. Mitchell and Ella tried to explain their parents' state. They described them as fearing for their lives.
Okay.
But they said it wasn't one big thing. It was, and this is a direct quote, a buildup of different, normal, everyday events, just pressure. And it slowly got worse as the days went by.
Just pressure.
Yeah.
Everyday pressure building up.
That quote feels like the absolute core of it, doesn't it? The slow burn of normal life stress, running businesses, family stuff, money worries, who knows what exactly. But it compounded and compounded until their whole perception of reality just warped.
And this pattern, this shared warping of reality within a family, led experts and the media looking at this case to focus on a very specific, quite rare psychological condition.
Folie à deux.
Folie à deux. French meaning madness of two. Though, as you said, it involved more than two here.
Yeah, the term applies even if it spreads to more members of a close group, almost always a family.
So what exactly is it? It sounds like something out of a movie.
It's a clinical reality, though rare. It describes a shared psychotic disorder. The key thing is it's not just, say, two people coincidentally having similar delusions. It's about transmission.
Transmission, like one person catches it from another.
In a psychological sense, yes. There's usually a primary inducer, someone who first develops a psychotic delusion. Maybe in this case, one of the parents first started believing the business stress meant they were being targeted.
Okay, the primary.
And then one or more secondary induces people very close to the primary, usually dependent or highly suggestible in that relationship, gradually come to accept and believe that delusion. They adopt it as their own reality.
Because they trust the primary person implicitly.
Exactly. And in a close-knit family like the Tromps, who lived and worked together, probably quite insulated, that delusion gets reinforced constantly. Mark's fear validates Jacoba's fear, which validates Mark's fear.
And maybe Rihanna gets drawn into that feedback loop too.
It seems very likely. It becomes almost impossible to pinpoint who exactly started it because it feeds on itself within that closed system.
So it's not just sharing the paranoia, it's actively amplifying it within the family unit.
Precisely. That's the danger. The very trust and closeness that defines a family becomes the pathway for the delusion to spread and strengthen. Rational counterarguments get ground out because the people you trust most are confirming the fear.
We see similar dynamics sometimes in cults, you mentioned.
Yes, but it's arguably even more potent in a nuclear family because those bonds are often deeper and more fundamental.
And the extreme symptoms, like Rihanna's catatonic state, become horrifying evidence of how totally that shared delusion took over their reality.
Absolutely. It shows the depth of the psychological break.
So, if we're hypothesizing, given the kids mentioned the pressure, the buildup, is it reasonable to think Mark and Jacoba, as the parents and business owners, were maybe the primary drivers here?
Based on the sequence of events, that seems like a very plausible interpretation, yes. The sources suggest they were showing the stress first, the phone incident was driven by them,
Right.
and the way the others left Mitchell first, then the sisters having to steal a car, it looks like desperate attempts to break out of that shared, imposed reality. The physical scattering kind of mirrored their psychological escape.
Which could also explain why Ella and Mitchell seemed to recover relatively quickly once they were away from the source of the delusion.
Well, Mark, Jacoba, and Rihanna, who are maybe more deeply invested or the originators, needed significant psychiatric intervention.
It's a really stark public example of how a shared reality can just detach completely from, well, actual reality.
And the delusion takes over, dictating these completely illogical actions, the flight, the discarding of technology, the bizarre travel patterns.
So what does this all mean when we try to boil it down?
Well, it means you had this ordinary, successful family who, under immense internal pressure, developed a shared belief they were in mortal danger. This belief, this folie à deux, drove them to abandon everything and scatter chaotically across the country.
The key being it was internal. No actual external threat existed. It was all generated within the family dynamic, likely fueled by that buildup of everyday pressures the kids mentioned.
The Tromp story is just such a powerful, if tragic, illustration of how fragile our perception of reality can be. It shows how much reality is, in a way, negotiated, especially with those closest to us.
And when that core group, your trusted circle, starts reflecting and amplifying fears under pressure, that shared fear can feel incredibly undeniably real, even if it's based on nothing factual.
Yeah, and the police summary of massive meltdown, while understandable perhaps, really simplifies what was likely a complex breakdown of shared reality, a collective psychosis.
So the final thought we want to leave you with, thinking about the Trumps, is maybe a bit unsettling. It's about trust and perception. When you rely so heavily on your immediate circle, your family, your partner, to validate how you see the world, just how vulnerable are you? How easily could that shared bubble of reality, especially when things get tough, start to drift dangerously away from the world outside?